The general public seems to have this "that could never be me" attitude towards identity theft. However, this is not necessarily true. We hear in the news from time to time that a company got hacked and lost valuable customer information such as their credit card or debit card numbers. What you may not realize is that all those customers are now very susceptible to having their identities stolen. The truth of the matter is that identity theft is more common and prevalent than you may think, because at the end of the day, all it takes is one hacking breach that could expose your personal information and make you a prime target for identity theft. Today, I have gathered information for you about identity theft to better prepare you against identity theft related threats by understanding how common they can be, how they work, and actions you can take against it to help better protect your identity. Here are some surprising statistics about identity theft. Ray Bonici reported that nationally, ransomware attacks surged from 4 million incidents in 2015 to nearly 638 million last year, a jump of nearly 15,850%, according to a report from network security firm Sonic Whale. According to Jamie Bartlett, analysts estimate that we're each giving up 5,000 British pounds worth of data every year, and that's a lot of data to be losing without us even knowing about it. Also, David Lazarus recently reported that police nab fewer than 5% of identity thieves, which means at least 95% of identity thieves end up getting away with stealing someone's information and using it for their own good, which is not good at all. So today, first, I will inform you all about how many people end up having their identities stolen every year and how easy it can be for someone's identity to be stolen in the first place. Second, I will share how thieves steal that personal information from others and what it means to be a victim of an identity attack. And lastly, I will give you tips on how to better protect yourself against identity threats. Overall, people are victims pretty frequently when it comes to identity theft. The Federal Trade Commission reported that there were over 800,000 identity theft-related complaints in 2016. Doing a little math, that is 1.5 complaints every single minute, and this is only in the US. This is not worldwide, which I'm sure is a much larger number. And this is a pretty high number because generally it's pretty easy to get access to personal information, or at least it's pretty easy for this to happen because we share our information everywhere. Both in our day-to-day lives and online, we constantly share information, both really personal and public. And since the information is online, all it takes is one good hacking breach, and all that information can be accessed depending on where you placed it. And that's another point is that even if you don't go online at all, if you go to Target and shop at Target or Amazon, well, Amazon is online, but if you shop at Target, and you give them your credit card number, if Target gets hacked, then they also have access to your personal information because you gave your personal information to Target. And this is exactly what happened in 2013. In 2013, hackers leaked 40 million names, credit and debit card numbers, expiration dates, and 3-digit security codes of Target customers for a month before the breach was even noticed. And so that just gives you an idea of how many people have their identity stolen, and really how easy it is for something like that to happen, actually. So how does your data actually get stolen, your information gets stolen? Well, your data is literally everywhere. Every website you visit and every little bit of information you give out to to stores is ending up being siphoned by big companies that store and sell your data, and this is the case online. And if you want to know evidence of this, just remember to read those terms of services, because if you actually read them, there's some pretty interesting stuff in there. Axiom Corporation, which is one of the big companies that sells and stores their personal information, is believed to hold information on about 500 million customers around the world and has annual sales of more than 1 billion. This information is then bought and sold by hackers, and that can get access to all your personal information, which makes it very easy for them to steal your identity. And once your identity is stolen, hackers can ruin your credit score, charge your debit and credit cards, and do even more, but basically ruin your financial stability terribly, and they can do even more if they have even more of your personal information. It's also very hard to recover from identity theft-related attacks because you might not even be able to find the attacker, but even if you do, According to Paul Stevens, a director of policy and advocacy at the San Diego's Privacy Rights Clearinghouse, once your information is out there, it stays out there, which means that even if your identity gets hacked, your information is all on the line already, and it's very hard to get it off the internet once it's already on there. And so here are some ways to help prevent you from getting your identity stolen. First, be smart. If you encounter someone who looks suspicious or is suspicious online and is asking for your personal information, either report them, or if you can't do that, just stay away from them. Best leave it at that. Do not engage. So another way of protecting your identity is by having really complex passwords that can't be guessed, and change your passwords from time to time to help mix it up and keep them on their toes, so to speak. Don't make your password. Do not make your password, and do not make your password 12345. That is a very, very, very bad idea if you do not want your personal information to be accessed by people who want to do you harm. Another way of protecting your identity is by consider investing in a software that helps encrypt or protect your data from cyber attacks. And this way you don't even have to worry about losing your information, because they cannot steal information that is encrypted by a security software. And finally, carefully consider who you give your personal information out to. If you go and try to shop at trusty sources, do not give your information everywhere. Try to stick to a few main websites. That way it makes it less likely for your identity to be breached, because your information is in less places, which means it's less likely to be attacked. So overall, going over a summary of what we talked about, first I showed that identity attacks are quite frequent and somewhat easy to pull off. Second, I explained how identity thieves can obtain your personal information about you, and how this affects victims and for an extended period of time, even if the criminal of the identity theft is caught. And third and finally, I explained many ways in which you can better protect yourself against identity threats. So, in general, identity theft, while it's not the most fun topic, I will admit, it is, however, a very important topic to know about, considering how frequent and detrimental it can be to people. By informing you guys all about the number of people impacted by identity attacks, how they happen, and how it affects the victims, and how to prevent them, you all know about the dangers of sharing information on the internet and the serious threat that identity theft presents. Today, I've informed you all about identity theft, such as how many people it affects, how they can steal your information, and how to safeguard against their attacks. And you can now better protect your information and save yourself a ton of money and trouble down the road. When you're asked a risque question if you're asked on a risque website for your credit card information to make a purchase, consider whether or not it's worth actually giving your information, or if you can make the same purchase elsewhere via a more reliable website or source. And of course, remember, read those terms of service if you want to look about what all those companies do with your information. Thank you.